everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be talking about the murder of Christy Mirak. So Christy Mirak was born on November 3rd, 1967. She was the middle child in her family and lived in Pennsylvania. Now, one thing about her is that she always grew up knowing the career that she wanted to have. She always wanted to be a teacher. She wanted to help people like that, and she wanted to educate people. She was really passionate about having that career. So she did just that. She became a teacher, and her students loved her. She was very appreciated, and she was such a kind individual, and people really, loved to have someone like her to look up to. Her boss actually continues to praise her, and she was an amazing individual. She was so kind. The night prior to her passing on the 20th of December 1992, she was actually wrapping presents for her students. She got them all their own individual book, so they had their own individual gifts, and something like that is just so amazing and so kind. And she was one, we always have one of those teachers who are just way more dedicated and just, you can tell, absolutely love their job so much and really take great care of their students, and she was someone like that. On the next day, on the 23rd of December 1992, she actually failed to turn up to work, and this was very odd for her because she was never late. She was always early. She would kind of never really miss days, and immediately her boss actually knew something was wrong. He originally thought maybe she had broken down, or something maybe just stopped her way from getting to work. So he actually called her multiple times, but there was no contact there. She failed to answer. He then contacted her mother to see if they had anything, and they didn't. So her mother at this point was getting very, very worried about her. So the principal actually offered to go and drive to her apartment to see, if he could help her get to work, or what had happened.
I called her apartment about 5 times, nothing.
Over at Christy's school, Principal Goodman gets worried when she doesn't show up to her classroom.
I called her mother and I said, "Have you heard from Christy?"
The phone rang. My mom was upstairs. She came downstairs and she said, Christy didn't show up for work.
She was worried, I was worried. And I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll drive down, and I'll probably end up changing her tire on the car." So I started driving. Her mother had given me her address. The farther I went, I did not see her. And then I started to panic.
When he arrived, he actually saw that her door was open, and immediately that's a red flag. It's like, someone's door is open. That's no. He started to call her name to see if he could get any response or anything. However, there was nothing. So he then decided to go into the apartment, and that's when he saw her dead body lying on the floor. Her body was in such a bad condition. She had been sexually assaulted. She had been beaten. It was in such bad condition, the police actually warned her family not to view her body because it was horrendous. Now, DNA has been the main thing within this case, and it's the reason why it's currently solved. But regarding DNA, there was a footprint found on her doorway, and there was marks and signs of a struggle on the walls of her living room. There was also a chopping board found in the living room, and police believe that this was Lisa trying to defend herself or something. They don't really know why that's there. Now, DNA from this case was put through a database, and you have to imagine, at this time in the 1990s, technology in DNA was not as advanced as it is today. Nowadays, that stuff is so advanced and so, on it, that cases are solved more quickly. Whereas back then, they didn't have all of the stuff we have now. So when they put the DNA through the database, there was nothing. And honestly, for 20 years, there was nothing on this case. There was no leads. There was no major suspects. There was a few suspects where Chrissy actually had a secret boyfriend who was 20 years older than her. However, they managed to clear him and he wasn't involved in her passing. A county district attorney called Craig Steadman actually decided he wanted the case to kind of be reopened a little bit and try and see if he could solve the case. He actually got in contact with a DNA company where they're able to put together 3D kind of images of what someone would look like just from DNA, which to me is absolutely insane. Like, that's so cool. Now, CeCe Moore is actually like a whole DNA kind of expert, and she's literally helped to solve cases like the Golden State Killer. She actually came into the case to see if she could kind of have a crack at it and see what she could do. She used DNA to look at descendants of the killer. She looked at multiple family trees and was able to, you know, gather some family trees of where the killer might have come from. This is so clever. I'm sorry, this is so smart to do. Now, she found one family which linked with the DNA, and it was from a European and Latin descent. So she continued to look at this, and she went through like newspapers and different other sources to kind of backtrack a bit more, and she actually found an engagement announcement from a member in the family. So she was able to kind of, you know, narrow it down much more. Now, do you know what's insane? After a few days, she had found out who did it, and the police hadn't done it in 20 years. Do you know how insane that is? Like, so they now had their suspect, but they needed the suspect's DNA to kind of confirm it and match up. So they actually followed the suspect, and the suspect put water bottles and gum in a bin, and they took it out and they took that DNA and it matched. Raymond Rowe, 49 years old, he was actually a wedding DJ, a businessman and a father, was then charged with Christy's murder. He was charged with 1 count of criminal homicide and was not given the chance of bail. On January the 8th, 2019, he pleaded guilty, and police think that he was stalking her. He was actually working on the same road as her, so he would have to drive past her apartment multiple times. So police think that he was actually stalking her. He pled guilty to first-degree murder, rape, and related counts in exchange for life in prison without the possibility of parole. He also had a consecutive sentence of 60 to 120 years. According to prosecutors, Rowe spoke to Mirack's family in court and said, "I can't imagine what you're going through. I apologize." He then turned to Mirack's father and said, "I'm sorry, sir." And defense attorney Patricia Sports said in court that according to District Attorney's Office statement, he had told us that he did it. So he didn't kind of put up a fight in regards to defense. He admitted it was him and didn't have any like, "I'm not guilty." Like, he fully did it. It's insane to me because he actually was very keen on anti-violence and had even put together anti-violence events months before her passing. So to me, that's super weird. The police actually don't know if they met. They suspect that they might have met at a social event, maybe because he was a DJ, but they truly don't really know the connection that they had. I believe personally that he attacked her as soon as she kind of opened the door to her apartment. I don't think she would have opened the door and let a stranger walk into the apartment. I really believe that she was attacked as she was like about to leave. That's what I truly think about it. After 27 years, the case was finally solved, and Christy was able to get some justice as well as her family, and to this day that's it. It's incredible to see how much technology has progressed to the point where people can really solve stuff which happened decades ago. Thank you for watching this video. Give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, comment too. I would love to know your opinions on this case, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.